Hello, everybody, and hopefully you received the email that I sent from my AeroMirror account to you, letting you know about the transition over to SJG Trades and the community over there. So please look for that. If you did not receive my message or my email for some reason, please feel free to email me at steve@sjgtrades.com. Or if you have any questions, of course, email me and I'll respond to you over there. So now on with our trade. So if we take a look at our market, okay, we've kind of been running in a wave here. Now, if we look at the moves, so our up move, our last up move after a little pullback here essentially was about a 200 point or 150 point up move. We went from, this point down here, 39.50 up to in the 41.50 range. So that 200 points. Now we've had almost a 200-point drop or reversal of that, almost to the exact point. Furthermore, you see we kind of consolidated here before we broke out of this trend line. So normally, under normal technical analysis, two things can happen. We pull back to that breakout point. You can see we exceeded that, but then you pull back to the prior trend line. And many times, if you're going to get a reversal, this is where you're going to bounce off of. You're going to get a reversal off of this. So that's kind of the premise here, is that I'm thinking after the 4 down days essentially that we've had, that we're due for a little bit of a bounce. You can see that our down volume is drying up considerably. Now, we haven't closed yet today, but we're about an hour before the close, and our volume is considerably less than it has been on prior days. So that means there could be some exhaustion here in the selling activity. And of course, when the exhaustion in selling happens, that's when we tend to get stability or potentially a bounce. So what I'm looking for here on our positions, and I will say that I'm going to have this serve as our weekend update too. We have these 3 trades open right now. This one's cranking along just fine. Nothing needed here. Nice flat T0 line. We've only been in this one a couple days, so it's working just like we want it to. This one, as you recall, we thinned out yesterday at a very favorable price. I still am a little shocked by that price. And I floated a price out there. We currently have 2 remaining butterflies. I floated a price out there to close one of them at $5.50. So if it hits that $5.50, this trade is going to be at about $5.50 in profit approximately, somewhere in that general range. And we'll still have one butterfly on that we can still kind of milk a little bit there maybe. So if we do in fact get that fill price, this will also then be a no-lose trade. If we get that fill price, our lines are all going to be above zero. So we will not lose any money on this trade at that point. And hopefully, as decay continues, we'll end up being able to make a little bit more money. So here's the one that we have the question on. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pop this open. And again, calendars work weird. That's why it's going to take a deep dive class, which no, I don't have ready yet. But let's just take a look at a couple of the things that we have to be cognizant of with calendars. So one of the things that the developer Charles put in here that I really like is I can now come in, let me widen this just a hair here. I can now come in and I can see my leg P&L. Okay, now that's a really nice feature to have. So I can instantly tell, particularly in a calendar, it's really weird sometimes to tell where have I made money and where have I lost money. So we can see here on this calendar, this upper calendar, well, we've actually lost a little money. This one, we've gained $58.50 in profit, but here we've lost $60.50 in profit. So that is $2 roughly that we've lost times 5. So that's down $1,000, this upper butterfly is. But let's look at our slight diagonal down here. Here we've made $10, or excuse me, we've lost $10 on this one. We've made $12 on this one, or $12.50. Let's just call this $10.50, $12.50. So that's $2 that we've made. Now, had we put on 5 of these as well, And we would have been about break even at that point, but I was actually expecting our markets to maybe rebound a little, so I didn't want to get too heavy on this downside. Um, but anyhow, so that $200 in profit kicking back in is what lowers us down into this $700 in loss range. So the question then becomes, what do we do with this thing? Okay, so what has to happen here is we are looking for the extrinsic value to drop out of this front option and not drop out of our back option. So why has this not moved much in value over the past 3 days? We've been looking at this same loss. Well, the reason is because our volatility has kicked up each day. As our volatility has kicked up, it has not allowed this extrinsic value to drain out of this thing. Again, normally that's what we're looking for, is we want this extrinsic value to drain out, and then the extrinsic value on the backside, it's also going to drain, but because it's a further out expiration, it's going to drain a little bit slower. That's what we're wanting to have happen. But because volatility has spiked as we've sold off this week, that has kept this extrinsic value from dropping. Now, fact still remains, this extrinsic value is going to go to zero by the time this thing expires next week. That's good, because that's going to essentially kick $4,000 in profit into this trade. However, at the same time, this one is going to lose value. What we need to have happen is we need this one to lose value faster than this one. That's how calendars work. And the closer we get to expiration on this thing, the more this is going to accelerate. This loss, or excuse me, the dropout of this extrinsic value is going to accelerate. So, given my personal expectation of a potential little bit of bounce or rise in our market, again, coming back, looking at SPX here, I do think that we might bounce here back into this 4,000, maybe even up to 450 range in the next, Monday, Tuesday, whatever of next week. If that were to occur, we're going to be up in here somewhere, and volatility is going to drop, and this decay is going to drop out pretty quickly. Again, this decay is going to drop too. We just need to have this one, because it expires first, drop more than the back one. You'll see on these two, there's not a great deal left of extrinsic value in either one of these. So these are largely not going to play a big role in this trade at this point. We also have to recognize, again, oddity of a calendar, is that if IV drops, this thing is going to sink everywhere. So IV will probably drop a little bit as price goes up, but it probably won't drop all that much. So again, what we're looking for time to march forward into, next Wednesday, somewhere in that range. Interesting that when I just marched this forward, it dropped down there temporarily, but oh, did I not march it forward? Let's see. Today is, no, I need to come up here. Today's the 24th. That might help. There we go. So if we get up into here somewhere, if our market bounces and this thing decays as it should, we should pick some back up in this. So at the end of the day, I guess what I'm trying to say here is I am not going to adjust this particular trade. I'm just going to leave it set with the intent that a lot of this extrinsic value is going to start dripping out of here next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which is going to raise this T0 line and get me closer to a break even, possibly a profit. So we're going to let that suffice as our weekend update as well. And I did look at adding an additional calendar down here, which if you have an opinion that the market might be going lower from here, you could potentially add an additional calendar. I just didn't want to go there at this point. I just don't necessarily feel that's required on this trade. But if you do, that's certainly something that you might want to consider for a trade of your own. So this is what I'm going to be doing on this particular trade. The other two are setting just fine, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. And if you do have questions about SJG Trades and the offerings over there, and the special offer to the Aramir people that allows them to be included in the re-recording of the butterfly class, as well as 2 free months in my other service. Feel free to email me again, sjgsteve@sjgtrades.com. Thank you.